In 1867, Kansas State University held its first commencement. 3 women and 2 men graduated that year. As the first land-grant university in the nation, this fledgling university had a vision of providing innovative education to all people. That early vision has continued through to the present, with over 250 majors and a diverse student body, including students from all 50 states and more than 100 countries. Becoming one of the nation's top 50 public research universities by 2025 is today's vision for tomorrow. With academic programs among the best in the nation and professors who are leaders in their fields, Kansas State University is an international leader in teaching, learning, service, and research. Today's graduates join over 200,000 alumni who are proud to call K-State their alma mater. Congratulations, and thank you to all those who have supported them through their undergraduate experience at Kansas State University.
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle Toes, the Associate Dean for Research and Scholarship, and it is my honor to welcome each of you on this joyous occasion. We in the College of Human Ecology join family and friends in celebrating the accomplishments of the graduating class of the spring 2017. At this time, I invite you to stand and sing the national anthem. Thank you. Please be seated. As I introduce today's platform party, please hold your applause until all are introduced. In the front row, from my right, your left, Pat Pacey, Director Emeritus, Hospitality Management. Amy Button-Renz, President and CEO, K-State Alumni Association. Dr. John Buckwalter, Dean. Barbara Anderson, Professor and Department Head, Apparel, Textiles, and Interior Design. Dr. Dorothy Durbin, Professor and School Director, School of Family Studies and Human Services. Dr. Kevin Roberts, Associate Professor and Interim Department Head, Hospitality Management. Dr. Mark Hobb, Professor and Department Head, Food, Nutrition, Dietetics, and Health. In the back row, from my left, your right, Courtney Claxton, Student Commencement Speaker and Degree Candidate in Communication Sciences and Disorders. Dr. Craig Harms, Professor and Department Head, Kinesiology. And Dr. Shauna Jordan, Assistant Dean for Student Support, Assistant Professor, Food, Nutrition, Dietetics, and Health. Please welcome Dr. John Buckwalter, Dean of the College of Human Ecology, to recognize faculty award winners and our student commencement speaker.
While we have many accomplished faculty members in the College of Human Ecology, I would like to direct your attention to a number of faculty listed in the commencement program. Please take a moment to turn to page 57 in your program to view our faculty award winners from this spring. Would you please join me in a round of applause for these great faculty members? Graduates, your families and your faculty are so very proud of your accomplishments. We expect that the future will hold great promise for each of you. Today we celebrate your accomplishments at K-State. Courtney Claxton will represent the graduating class as the May 2017 Student Commencement Speaker. Courtney, will you please join me at the podium? Courtney will graduate with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Communication Science and Disorders with a minor in anthropology. The daughter of Denise and Marshall Claxton of Olathe, she served as president of the Human Ecology Council this past year and was a co-chair of philanthropy for the Kansas State Student Speech, Language, and Hearing Association. Courtney has also received various scholarships from the Student Access Center at K-State and is a member of the Kappa Omicron Nu and the Delta Alpha Phi Honor Society. She has also served as a peer minister for the Lutheran Campus Ministries, presidential lecture series coordinator at K-State, new student services, and this fall as the 5K intern on the All-University Homecoming Committee. You've been busy. Courtney looks forward to being a positive influence in the lives of others and plans to pursue a master's degree in speech-language pathology at the University of Central Missouri in the fall. The College of Human Ecology is pleased to welcome Courtney as she speaks on behalf of the graduating class. Congratulations. This will come down to
Dear distinguished guests, family from near and far, and graduates, thank you for being with us today as we celebrate this milestone in our lives. Before we leave here today, I just want to leave you with something that you can take with you as you enter a brave new world, life after college, whether you are entering the workforce or pursuing higher education. About 18 years ago, my parents received the news that their youngest child had a hearing loss, which would likely have a substantial daily impact on her life. But this did not keep them from motivating me and pushing me to accomplish my goals. While at Kansas State, I have come to realize that we all deal with some form of adversity in our lives, whether it be invisible battle scars or physical ones, financial struggles, family conflicts, emotional turmoil. No matter what, we have the choice to either let these challenges break us down or to use these stumbling blocks as building blocks to make us stronger. As you go out into the world, I urge you not to let failure stand in your way. Failure is only failure if you let it be. Whether you are unsuccessful at landing your dream job right away, do not get into graduate school for the first time, or have to deal with conflicts in the workplace or at home, I urge you to take these moments of so-called failure and to turn them into opportunities. Such opportunities may be the ones that you do not expect right away or even welcome, but can end up being life-changing. I would have never expected some of the opportunities that came my way at Kansas State, as I built connections with people from all walks of life. People who have helped me to grow and change as a person. I would have never imagined that walking amongst the clanging sounds of construction, thunder-like murmurs from nearby, and the castle-like buildings on campus to classes, organizational meetings, and other commitments as a student, campus tour guide, and as an individual, moving toward my own future would have such an impact on my experiences here. It was through these walks that I learned we will walk into all sorts of unique and sometimes challenging opportunities wherever we go after today. These opportunities will allow us the chance to connect and work with others to make every individual's life better. As we enter a world focused on things, I encourage you to continue to focus on the people as the human ecology motto inspires us to do. We will enter professions that will allow us to make drastic improvements in the lives of others. In this room, there are future doctors, speech pathologists, physical and occupational therapists, nutritionists, designers, educators, military leaders, experts on the family, financial planners, hotel and restaurant managers, and other esteemed professionals. We have been fortunate to receive the tools at Kansas State, which will allow us to work towards achieving excellence. No matter how difficult life may get or how failure may try to keep us down, we have the tools and the power to create a bright future that will not only impact ourselves, but our families and the lives of those around us. Failure is only failure if you let it be. It can also be the start of a foundation that ultimately leads to future success. A stumbling block can become the limestone used to build an enduring tribute to your education and time at Kansas State. Thank you. Dr. Shauna Jordan, Assistant Dean, will now recognize students with academic honors.
Thank you, Courtney. It is now my pleasure to recognize students whose academic performance earned cum laude, magna cum laude, and summa cum laude honors. 37 have been awarded the designation cum laude. These 37 students have a cumulative K-State grade point average of 3.750 to 3.849. 26 students have been awarded the designation magna cum laude. These students have achieved a 3.850 to 3.949 K-State academic average. And we have 22 students who have been awarded the designation summa cum laude, the highest academic honor conveyed by the university. These students have attained a 3.950 or higher cumulative grade point average. At this time, will these students who have earned these academic honors please stand to be recognized? Congratulations, students. Kappa Macron Nu is a national honor society dedicated to recognizing and encouraging excellence in scholarship, research, and leadership in human ecology. Kappa Macron Nu students and faculty are wearing burgundy and cream honor cords today. Eta Sigma Delta is also an international honor society for our students with an excellent academic record in the hospitality and tourism industry. Eta Sigma Delta students are also wearing cords today. Join me in congratulating these students as well. At this time, it is my honor and privilege to introduce Pat Pacey as our distinguished speaker today. Pat Pacey spent 25 years at Kansas State as the program director and instructor in the Hotel and Restaurant Management program. He retired in 2015. He was well known on campus as Mr. Manners for his formal dining advice and workshops. K-State Athletics and the Career Center often called on Mr. Pacey to share his adequate wisdom with student athletes and beginning professionals. Part of Mr. Pacey's legacy is his establishment of the highly successful travel and dining auction planned by the hospitality management students each year to acquire financial support for professional development activities. Prior to his position as the Hotel and Restaurant Management Program Director, Mr. Pacey was a unit director with K-State Housing and Dining Services and also an assistant instructor. He was a Human Resource Development Coordinator with Housing and Dining Services, a University Faculty Council member, Parking Appeals Committee member, and chapter advisor of Sigma Phi Epsilon, Kansas Beta Chapter. Mr. Pacey translated his wide and varied interests into civic involvement as a food service consultant for the U.S. Navy, Alumni Advisory Board member for the Food Service Management Program at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, committee member for Home Care Hospice Flint Hills Festival of Wines, and facilities coordinator for the Episcopal Student Center Canterbury House. Mr. Pacey received a Bachelor of Science in Food and Nutrition from Indiana University of Pennsylvania, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and a Master of Science in Institutional Management from Kansas State. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Pat Pacey.
I have attended over 50 college graduation ceremonies during my time on faculty at Kansas State University, and know from my experience that you graduates have not come here to hear a graduation speech. You have come here to receive your hard-earned diploma. I will respect that intent by keeping my speech short. In early February, I received a phone call from Dean Buckwalter asking if I'd be willing to give the May graduation speech for the College of Human Ecology. I asked him to clarify if I heard him correctly. The entire college? Yes, and graduation is Saturday, May 13th. Wow, this is quite an undertaking. I did not think I was a candidate to do this. My next question, why me? Dean Buckwalter was quick to remind me that he attended my last lecture before I retired in May of 2015. I traditionally invite faculty, administrators, and friends to attend my last lecture for an upper-level management class that I taught every spring. The title of my lecture was, "Where You Start Might Not Be Where You Finish." I discussed my life journey and what I believe is most important. Evidently, Dean Buckwalter thought I did a good job relating to students and my message was worth sharing. Thank you, Dean Buckwalter, for giving me this opportunity and believing in me. Today, I will share two things that I consider very important as you start your career and life journey after Kansas State. My first piece of advice is to remember that life may not be fair. Life looks great right now. You're ready to walk across the stage, get your diploma, and graduate. Many of you have accepted jobs, may move to a new location to work your chosen profession, and most importantly, will be earning a wonderful salary instead of being paid an hourly wage. Some will be getting engaged or married. Life is more than fair. Life is great right now. But again, let me say, life in the future may not always be fair. My father reminded me of this when I thought something that happened to me was unfair or not right. My father had a personal understanding of what he meant when he said, life may not be fair. My dad was a college graduate with a business degree from Duquesne University, a Catholic university in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was a second lieutenant in the United States Army during World War II when he got sick with a case of stomach flu and was given a shot of penicillin. This is a common practice at that time because it was very effective in reducing flu symptoms. Unknown to the Army physicians who treated him, my father was allergic to this drug. He quickly lost nerve feelings in his extremities, which spread eventually to paralyze his whole body. He was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, which causes a severe form of paralysis. He was completely paralyzed from his neck down to his toes. He was hospitalized for a year and a half and had to learn how to use his arms and fingers again. Because of the lingering effects of this nerve disease, he could not get an employer to seriously consider him as a candidate for a job. He had trouble walking and using his fingers, but his mind was sharp and he had a strong desire to use his college education. He applied for the GI Bill to attend graduate school with the aim of teaching finance, but was denied with the explanation that he would be on his feet too much, and this would not be good for a man in his condition. After months of job searching and numerous interviews, my dad was finally able to get a position as a sales associate in the appliance department for a small regional department store chain in western Pennsylvania. Within a year, my dad moved up to assistant store manager. Because of this job, he was now on his feet all the time. I cannot remember my dad ever complaining about the demands of his job. My dad had an excellent understanding of what he meant when he would remind me, "Patrick, life may not be fair." What I learned from my dad is, it's not what happens to you, but how one reacts to a situation or event. He could not control what happened to him, but he could control his response. He was not angry, he did not feel sorry for himself, and he did not want to sit at home and feel bad about his physical condition. He did have a positive attitude about life and focused on the things he knew he could do. You too can follow his examples and persevere when confronted with obstacles in your lives. Look for the things you can do when life throws you a curveball. Constantly seek to improve upon your skills, your ability, and especially your attitude. Many times you will find yourself in difficult situations. Maybe something will happen to you that is unpleasant or unfair. Maybe you will not get the job or position you believe you rightfully deserve. Again, life is not always fair. My second piece of advice, be more empathetic. So, exactly what is empathy? Psychologist Mark Davis suggested there are two important types of empathy. The first is to see things from another's point of view. Put yourself in their shoes. Think, why are they doing this? As a faculty member, I always cared why a student did not come to class or complete an assignment on time. Did they have family problems, work problems, relationship problems? My advice, seek to understand before placing blame or making judgment. Asking students helped me understand what happened that might have taken more work on my part, but it helped me understand and gave reasons for their behavior. The second type of empathy is empathic concern. This is what we most often think about when we hear the term empathy. It is the ability to recognize another's emotional state, feel in tune with their emotional state, and if distressful, feel and show that you are sensitive to their feelings to help them. So, how can I be more empathetic? For one, if you are empathetic, you really listen to others. Your family, your friends, family, co-workers, especially those in positions below you in the organization. When I say listen, I mean practice active listening. Ask questions to understand what they are saying, pay attention to nonverbal clues, and try to feel what they are feeling. Imagine yourself in their place. Practice curiosity about strangers by being interested in other people, especially those you know nothing about and who are outside of your social circle. Ask your barista how her life is going. You might know little about her outside of the coffee shop. A good recommendation for better empathic health is to put down your cell phone and have a conversation with a stranger at least once a week that goes beyond the superficial talk. Offering help to someone going through a difficult time is a great way to show that person you acknowledge their hardship and want to make their life easier. Offering help shows you're willing to take time out of your day to do something for others without asking anything in return. One example of helping others is a story about a flat tire. Driving back from Mississippi one hot summer with my wife, we stopped at a nice convenience store south of Memphis, Tennessee, to refuel and take a break before resuming our trip back to Manhattan, Kansas. While inside the store, I overheard one of the cashiers complaining about the disabled car that had been blocking access to one of the gas pumps for over an hour. I had not noticed the disabled car, but was curious to see what the problem was. I left the store, and upon further inspection, noticed that the car right next to us had a flat tire. A young woman was sitting in the driver's seat and was crying. As I approached, she rolled down the driver's window and told me her cell phone battery was almost gone and that she could not get anyone to come and help her. After some discussion with my wife about staying to help, we, which is really me, would try changing the tire for her. I told the woman that I was out of practice in changing tires, but was willing to try so she can get going again. The look in her face said, "Thank you, thank you." I proceeded to get the spare tire, jack, and tire wrench. I got the car jacked up a few inches and put the tire wrench on the first lug bolt and got it free. Then, for some strange reason, the second lug bolt did not fit the wrench. The bolt head was a different size. I thought this was strange. I'd never experienced this before. After some discussion, the young woman remembered that her uncle had placed special adapters on the tire lug bolts to guard against tire jacking. She found the special wrench adapters in her glove box, and I proceeded to get the tire changed. During this time, we learned that she was a student in a community college. She hoped to continue her education at a 4-year school and major in social work. We got the tire changed, said our goodbyes, and quickly drove away. End of story? No. As we drove down the road, we began talking about what had just happened. I was feeling pretty good that I could change her tire. I was so focused on the tire, I did not know that the woman had a prosthetic leg. How could I miss this? I also began to wonder, did she have money for gas? She was parked right beside the gas pump. To this day, I still wonder about this young woman. Do not think I did anything special in helping this young woman. I believe many of you in this audience would have done the same thing. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yes, I was out of my comfort zone and didn't have much experience changing flat tires. But it bothered me to hear how the employees in the store viewed this situation. The woman was an inconvenience to their business. I was upset that no one seemed interested in offering help. I tried to put myself in her shoes. I knew she was frustrated to have this happen to her and did not want to inconvenience others with her problem. She did not have the financial resources to call a service truck, nor did she have relatives to come help. She was from an entirely different social circle than I experienced. I had compassion and empathy for her dilemma, but after changing her tire, I had a great deal of satisfaction for taking the time and effort to help her. I felt the store clerks misjudged this young woman. She needed someone to listen to her, show interest in her, and to help her. We were at the right place at the right time. I found in listening to her that we had similar things in common. I was a teacher, she was a student, she enjoyed the challenges of higher education, she had dreams of helping others and wanted to further her education. In today's world, remember that never has empathy been so important. We are facing a deepening empathy deficit, rooted in racism, bigotry, sexual orientation, discrimination, religious conflict, political culture, and violence. So, as I end, I want you to think about both stories. One about my father, who never felt sorry for himself, even though he could have easily. The second story about the flat tire demonstrates how showing empathy for someone can make their lives and yours better. Make the most of any situation, whether positive or negative, and remember, life is not always fair. Really listen to others, be interested in others, help others without being asked. Thank you. Congratulations on your graduation. And always remember to be proud that you're a K-Stater and show you have the education that makes you a better person. It's my pleasure to introduce Amy Button-Renz, President and CEO of the K-State Alumni Association, who will bring greetings on behalf of the K-State Alumni Association.
Thank you, Pat, and I really appreciated those two stories, very meaningful. I'm pleased to be part of your special day and offer congratulations on behalf of the K-State Alumni Association, representing over 182,000 living graduates who will be your lifelong K-State family. Today, as you receive your degree, we are excited to celebrate with you and your family. We are also here to welcome you into a new relationship with your alma mater as you begin this new chapter as a K-State graduate. Our mission at the Alumni Association is to lead and inspire lifelong involvement that will benefit Kansas State University and all members of our Wildcat community. Embedded in this mission are the core values that guide our efforts to keep you connected with K-State. The first value is link. The Alumni Association provides the lifelong link that alumni depend on to remain connected. You can stay in touch through hundreds of alumni activities held on campus, around the country, and even internationally. Another value is tradition. You will likely celebrate a few traditions this weekend as you sing the alma mater for the first time as a K-State graduate, or take KSU photos at your favorite spot on campus. You may also have fond memories of doing the Wabash at K-State sporting events, or rubbing the nose of the bronze Wildcat statue at the Alumni Center for good luck on a test, or to ensure victory over that other university in the state of Kansas. The third core value is purple. For K-Staters, it's more than a color. It's a symbol of pride, connection, and family. When you see someone wearing purple, or wearing a K-State class ring, or sporting a K-State license plate, you will feel that sense of family. In recognition of your graduation, the College of Human Ecology and the Alumni Association are providing you with a complimentary one-year membership to the Alumni Association. We hope you will enjoy the membership benefits and continue to be an active member after your first year. K-State alumni are among the most loyal in the nation. In fact, our membership ranks in the top 5 in the nation, and we rank #1 in the Big 12 Conference for the percentage of graduates who are members. That loyalty is shared by generations of K-Staters who have the same passion for K-State that you feel today as you receive your degree from one of the finest land-grant universities in the nation. The Alumni Association is also pleased to present you today with an exclusive alumni business card holder. As you go through life and your titles and addresses change, please be sure to keep us updated. We want to make sure you are always connected to your K-State family. Congratulations and go Cats.
Thank you, Amy. To the graduates of the class of 2017, your graduation is an important occasion. Your family members and friends, many of whom are with us today, have helped you to achieve your goal of earning a college degree. Will you please join me in a round of applause to thank them? In addition, will the faculty in the College of Human Ecology please rise so we can thank you and commend you on your efforts. And now, the moment we have gathered to celebrate. Will all the candidates for degrees from the College of Human Ecology please stand? By the authority of the people of Kansas and the Kansas Board of Regents, upon recommendation by the faculty and upon completion of degree requirements, I am pleased to confer upon you the respective baccalaureate degrees you have earned in the College of Human Ecology at Kansas State University. You may now move the tassel to the left side of your mortarboard. Congratulations to all the members of the class of spring 2017. You may be seated. At today's ceremony, I invite Assistant Dean Shauna Jordan and Associate Dean Michelle Toes to join me for the presentation of diplomas. Barbara Anderson will present the degree candidates from the Department of Apparel, Textiles, and Interior Design.
Will the degree candidates from the Department of Apparel, Textiles, and Interior Design please rise? Dean Buckwalter, I present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Apparel and Textiles. Reem Ibrahim Alawi. Margaret Mahoney Bork. Jalay Drenice Brown. Xiao Bu. Kylie Dawn Darger. Cum laude, Quinn Catherine Dieters. Maria Zarina Paleo Domingo. Hattie Michelle Doolittle. Hannah Janae Ediger. Molly Elizabeth Fitzpatrick. Nicole Brianne Ford. Amber Catherine Harvey. Madison Delaney Koopman. Emily Marie LeBlanc. Anna Marguerite Nolte. Kristen Elizabeth Nickelmo. Molly Renee O'Mara. Kelsey Marie O'Neill. Bethany Jane Pence. Bailey Jean Ragsdale. Cum laude, Melody Jane Riordan. Emily Ray Sanders. Aaron Albert Simon. Skylar Victoria Slavin. Margaret Rose Stewart. Mackenzie Marie Tigner. Jenna Elizabeth Vatiri. Brooke Renee Wallace. Brittany Ann Westbrook. Bachelor of Science, Interior Design, cum laude, Salome Rose Benedict. Shelley Brannon. Secondary in Gerontology, Melina Erin Cope. Alexandria Nicole Flory. Margaret Cynthia Hanneberg. Mary Cecilia Hornig. Mackenzie Ione Hutley. Kelsey Madison Joyce. Sarah Wiesner Kelly. Secondary in Gerontology, Lauren Elizabeth Osborne. Cecilia Marie Pedroza. Kayla Michelle Presswood. Laura Catherine Roth. Jessica Christine Russell. Caitlin Nicole Simon. Hannah Nicole Soika. Kelsey Elizabeth Spriggs. Darby Natisse Winrick. Dr. Dorothy Durbin will present the degree candidates from the School of Family Studies and Human Services.
The degree candidates from the School of Family Studies and Human Services, please rise. Dean Buckwalter, I present to you the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Family Studies and Human Services and Bachelor of Science in Personal Financial Planning. Bachelor of Science in Family Studies and Human Services, Communication Sciences and Disorders, Ricky Lynn Alderson. Laurel Elizabeth Anderson. Emily Margaret Arterburn. Elizabeth Rose Bittaker. Thank you. Courtney Michelle Brackey. Student commencement speaker, Courtney Renee Claxton. Cum laude, Chanel Ashley Coyne. Magna cum laude, Megan Catherine Crooks. Summa cum laude, Cassandra Elizabeth Dizon. Secondary in Gerontology, Lindsay Ann Finger. Megan Frances Gansel. Magna cum laude, Secondary in Gerontology Honors Project, Megan Rose Griffith. Sarah Lynn Haverkamp. Allison Rebecca Ivers. Sarah Elizabeth Lewis. Elizabeth Lauren Penton. Yesenia Perez. Madeline Ann Petrie. Cum laude, Secondary in Gerontology, Jessica Ann Smith. Cum laude, Alexandra Nicole Soliday. Cum laude, Jessica Elaine Sutton. Cum laude, Casey Elaine Weaver. Magna cum laude, Lauren Welch. Early Childhood Education, Whitney Michelle Kroll. Addie Marie Mayberry. Ashley Nicole Newsom. Cum laude, Catherine Ann Rohavit. Ashlyn Marie Weems. Family Studies and Human Services, Jacob Thomas Anderson. Titiana Maria Ayala. Cum laude, Allison Louise Bamford. Kaylee Nicole Barber. Demas Omar Benitez. Paige Elaine Black. Summa cum laude, Gabriella Hope Bauger. Taylor Deanne Breckenridge. Catherine Elaine Burton. Morgan Justine Burton. Catherine Lee Kanata. Nicolette Page Castleman. Danielle Georgia Chadbourne. Jordan Camille Clipson. Magna cum laude, Shannon Elizabeth Conover. Secondary in Gerontology, Kayla Rose Cooney. Magna cum laude, Catherine Wheeler Krim. Andrea Kathleen Davidson. Allison Bryson J. Davis-Webb. Catherine Marie Dirks. Alicia Marie Edgerly. Cassie Marie Enright. Corby Lee Irvin. Laura Colleen Farkas. Morgan Elizabeth Fate. Sean Floyd Finch. Brooke Nicole Gober. Mackenzie Renee Gonzalez. Taylor Michelle Good. Jordan Alexa Green. Paige Michelle Gutterson. Magna cum laude, Jill Catherine Hake. Savannah Elena Hayes. Jolynn Joyce Hennerberg. Carla Marie Henry. Jenny Jean Herrera. Ashley Marie Hirsch. Megan Elizabeth Heiser. Shania D. Hamey. Emma Ruth Hantz. Magna cum laude, secondary in gerontology, Benton Michael Raby. Nicholas Frederick Huggard.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate
Taylor Renee Inglis. Ebony Renee Jackson. Jennifer Marie Jackson. Brianne Nicole Jager. Caroline Elise Kane. Madeline Ann Castor. Kayla Ann Koenig. Summa cum laude, secondary in gerontology, Cody Marie Kaup. Cum laude, Kelsey Lynn Kuckelman. Cum laude, secondary in gerontology, Kristen Noel Kufal. Magna cum laude, Ashton Kimberly Lane. Elena Nicole Latimer. Magna cum laude, Emily K. Leonard. Garrett Michael Lesher. Jasmine Linez Lewis. Lindsay K. Mace. Reagan Nicole May. Carly Renee McLean. Eileen Melinda Mick. Elizabeth Jolynn Mills. Annie Rose Mendrup. Kimberly Ann Morrison. Sydney Lee Mullinax. Kathy Kim Wynn. Elena Camille No. Lauren Julia Emke. Kayla Lee Oldie. Alexa Nicole Oliphant. Daphne Nicole Park. Mackenzie Janae Payne. Monica Nicole Prado. Madison Nicole Reeves. Maura Helen Riley. Audrey Reynolds. Shelby Janelle Richardson. Hannah Kathleen Rogg. Jordan Rose Segraves. Brooke Danielle Sasson. Amanda Michelle Scheidemann. Nicholas Scheit. Nicholas's diploma will be presented by his mother, Dr. Mary DeLucy, Associate Professor, School of Family Studies and Human Services. Caroline Faye Schuckman. Summer Nicole Sin. Kayla Nicole Shields. Sky Shelby Simmons. Karen Lynn Soul. Kelly Jane Soul. Cum laude, Lindsay Nicole Sparlin. Jennifer Catherine Stanton Jones. Skylar Charles Stevens. Magna cum laude, Camille Brianne Stockmeyer. Kelly Nicole Tulin. Taylor Lee Terrell. Sierra Mar Wade Portella. Ricky Washington. Summa cum laude, Renee Elizabeth Wilkins Clark. Michaela Cherie Willis. William Jacob Whipperman. Emily Ann Wolf. Kylie Christine Zumach. Bachelor of Science in Personal Financial Planning, magna cum laude, Lindsay Ann Adams. Lauren Jessica Conroe. Chad Douglas Fisher. Bailey Alexandra Gasper. Joshua David Harper. Stephen Andrew Phillips. Brett Daniel Shoemaker. Dr. Mark Hobb will present the degree candidates from the Department of Food, Nutrition, Dietetics, and Health.
Will the degree candidates from the Department of Food, Nutrition, Dietetics, and Health please rise? Dean Buckwalter, I present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Athletic Training, Bachelor of Science in Dietetics, and Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition. Cum laude, Michelle Elizabeth Bowman. Alicia Marie DeSanto. Megan Marie Doman. Quay Andrew Hervey. Jordan Ross Johnson. Isaac Johnson Kitzmiller. Brent Paul Komlowski. Hannah Rose Lindsay. James Amos Manning. Elizabeth Ann McKinney. Karina Jean Metzger. Caitlin Mary Musel. Jack Andrew Nation. Caroline Elizabeth Orndorff. Catherine Elizabeth Proctor. Cooper Allen Sachs. Jennifer Margaret Stosky. Secondary in Gerontology, Amanda Ann Tadovchik. Cum laude, Jordan Levi Walter. Bachelor of Science in Dietetics, Bretta Lene Ahlstrom. Summa cum laude, Sophia Elizabeth Bachman. Lyndon M. Bell. Isabel Mariah Bouchard. Bachelor of Science in Dietetics and Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition, Public Health Nutrition, Anna P. Dillon. Bachelor of Science in Dietetics, Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology, and Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition, Nutrition and Kinesiology, cum laude, Mary Frances Donnelly. Secondary in Gerontology, Taylor Lynn Drake. Cum laude, Robin Ray Durain. Ashlyn Elaine Evans. Summa cum laude, Rachel Louise Girdle. Danielle Renee Grogan. Cum laude, Dana M. Holmes. Magna cum laude, Christine Brigitta Marie James. Bachelor of Science in Dietetics and Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition, Nutrition and Health, summa cum laude, Rachel Elizabeth Juneman. Ellie Lane Kingsley. Twyla Joy Linville. Tammy Lynn McKay. Lisa Ann Jerogi. Cum laude, Summer Haley Orr. Shannon Renee Parks. Magna cum laude, Sydney S. Paterno. Jessica Provost. Anna Maria Raymond. Rindy Marie Root. Magna cum laude, Catherine Lisa Strang. Bachelor of Science in Dietetics and Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition, Nutrition and Health, magna cum laude, Gabrielle Paige Vandergriff. Cum laude, Mara Julianne Woolsey. Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition, Nutrition and Health, Brooke Ann Aguirre. Mackenzie Catherine Bexton. Morgan Catherine Britton. Secondary in Gerontology, Emily Castellini. Sarah Michelle DiStefano. Okay. Annie Elizabeth Eller. Emily Grace Feldkamp. Summa cum laude, Brandon Allen Getz. Caitlin Renee Goley. Hannah Lauren Kempfee. Courtney Morgan Clemma. Madeline Ann Loper. John Michael Malabanan. Logan Darrell Lee Martinet. Secondary in Gerontology, Olivia Macy Payton. Secondary in Gerontology, Cody Jacob Riley. Summa cum laude, Megan Ray Robertson. Summa cum laude, Danny Grace Schwartz. Alex Jordan Chase. Summa cum laude, secondary in Gerontology, Hannah Brooks Leeser. Alyssa Catherine Renner. Rena Marie Solar. Nutrition and Kinesiology. Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology and Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition, Nutrition and Kinesiology, magna cum laude, Emma Christie Bassett. Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology and Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition, Nutrition and Kinesiology, Melanie Amanda McCarty. Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology and Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition, Nutrition and Kinesiology, Madison Lee Tuxhorn. Nutritional Sciences, cum laude, Abby Michelle Anderson.
Thank you.
Magna cum laude, Joy Elizabeth Feason. Cum laude, Austin Mark Gilroy. Magna cum laude, Riley Susan Mickelson. Caleb Allen Niehaus. Jacob Wesley Priddle. Sarah Ann Rhodes. Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Health and Bachelor of Science in Nutritional Sciences, summa cum laude, Kelly Mae Thompson. Public Health Nutrition, Joy Zhang. Please join me in congratulating all our new graduates. Dr. Kevin Roberts will present the degree candidates from the Department of Hospitality Management.
Will the degree candidates from the Department of Hospitality Management please rise? Dean Buckwalter, I present to you the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management and Bachelor of Science in Hotel and Restaurant Management. Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management, cum laude, Jessica Amber Ayers. Cum laude, Katie Jo Baker. Heather Frances Baldwin. Xiaowei Bing. Stephanie Ann Brands. Cassie Ray Bullock. Summa cum laude, Sarah Elizabeth Christensen. Taylor Dawn Clark. Nicole May Deering. Kara Caitlin Dole. Alexander Scott Hager. Secondary major in gerontology, Dylan Ray Jordan. Cum laude, Mary Catherine Elaine Carney. Cum laude, Abigail Elizabeth Kreselik. Hailing Lee. Caitlin Louise Martin. Jordan Nicole Matthews. Calder Patrick McAfee. Bridget Lacey McBratney. Alex Cameron Moorhead. Heather Nicole Nutt. Christian Andre Honoro. Caroline Rose Parsons. William A. Peterson. John Henry Prince. Abigail Dawn Richards. Duyun Tan. Sarah Marie Thomas. Cole Richard Woodworth. Ashley Wright. Bachelor of Science in Hotel and Restaurant Management, Mini Chen. Victor Marcelo Garcia Saldivar. Alyssa Michelle Wirtz. Associate Dean Michelle Toes will present the degree candidates for General Human Ecology.
Will the degree candidates for General Human Ecology please rise? Dean Buckwalter, I present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Human Ecology. Bachelor of Science in Human Ecology, Family and Consumer Sciences Education, Mackenzie Bickford. Jordan K. Carlson. Lauren D. Cox. Magna cum laude, Haley Lynn Johnson. Georgie Joe Johnson. Summa cum laude, Caitlin Laney Marie Lohman. Claire Lori Meyer. Erica Renee Parrott. General Human Ecology, Brianna J. Lewis. Madison Lynn Ray. Samantha M. Teen. Please join me in congratulating all our new graduates. If I can please welcome Dr. Craig Harms, will present the degree candidates from the Department of Kinesiology.
All right. Will the degree candidates from the Department of Kinesiology please rise? Dean Buckwalter, I present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology. Samantha Page Alexander. Cum laude, Gustavo Tamayo Arana. Cum laude, Eva Bago. Cum laude, Nathan Drew Bailey. Madeline Grace Batchelder. Travis Scott Bryan. Nutrition and Kinesiology, Danielle Nicole Burleson. Summa cum laude, Kelsey Marie Carpenter. Jordan Case. Marissa Nicole Kaler. Joseph Dean Chamberlain. Brian Patrick Collins. Dylan Thomas Cooley. Samuel Thomas Cooney. Casey Lynn Carruthers. Taryn Blaine Daniels. Allison Jean Del Negro. Hayla Damel. Matthew Lawrence Engelken. Summa cum laude, secondary in gerontology, Madison Nicole Epp. Cum laude, Shannon Marie Foley. Ethan Thane Fort. Megan Sharon Goebel. Seth Andrew Gonzalez. Kyle Dean Goraki. Samantha K. Gregg. Taylor Jacob Gore. Victoria Suzanne Hoppel. Taylor Elizabeth Hatfield. Andrew Christopher Hawkins. Lachey Marie Hedstrom. Cum laude, Eric Patrick Heffern. Brian Richard Hines. Secondary in gerontology, Sierra Brooke Henricks. Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology and Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition and Kinesiology, Austin Wayne Holmes. Tyler Dwayne Hopkins. Aaron Michael Howard. Secondary in gerontology, Samantha Marie Rethman Huber. Jaden Michael De La Rosa. Tyler Caldwell Jennings. Gavin Jorns. Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology and Bachelor of Human Nutrition, Nutrition and Kinesiology, Autumn N. Jewell. Tamara Don Kakish. Cade David Kanalakis. Catherine Marie Kazmierzuk. Logan R. Krizik. Jack Michael Leslie. Jared Seth Lovin. Trevor Benjamin Lowe. Elizabeth Jane Manley. Emily Brooke McIntyre. Emily Marie McNally. Jordan Taylor Minto. Mariah Jean Mussetter. Connor Lott Nace. Summa cum laude, Robert George Negley. Ricardo Nava. Magna cum laude, Braden Shea Nicholson. Blake Carl Overmiller. Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology and Bachelor of Human Nutrition, Nutrition and Kinesiology, Dylan Robert Parker. Kylie Veronica Penning. Magna cum laude, Olivia Nicole Pierce.
Congratulations.
Hunter Cade Post. Dominique Lachey Proctor.
Congratulations.
Cum laude, Joseph G. Pyle. Devin Quinn. Kyle Robert Raguson. Heather Rose Reuter. Collier Hodges Sanders III.
Congratulations.
Bachelor of Science in Dietetics, Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology, and Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition, Nutrition and Kinesiology, magna cum laude, Bailey C. Sanderson.
Congratulations,
Blake Andrew Seville. Charles William Schneider IV.
Congratulations, that's a great bow tie.
Benjamin Tyrone Selby. Jessica D. Schiebel.
Congratulations.
Secondary in Gerontology, Caitlin Christine Smith. Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology and Bachelor of Human Nutrition, Nutrition and Kinesiology, Andrea Lynn Stuber. Andrew Yesha Stevens. Cum laude, secondary in gerontology, Sydney K. Stoffragan. Blaine Stephen Tharman. Cum laude, secondary in gerontology, Mallory Renee Thompson. Anthony Mark Thompson. Amy Sue Tippin. Secondary in gerontology, Chase Allen Turner. Cum laude, Rowan Teresa Turner. Magna cum laude, David Mark Warnke. Madison Ashley Worth. Kindred Paris Wiesman. Joseph Luke Wheeler. Alexis Marie Zavala. Casey Lynn Ziegenhurt. Brittany Jenkins Ziegler. Please join me in congratulating all of our new graduates.
What's the order?
Here and here. That one fell out.
Graduates, as you came to Kansas State University from all corners of the world, and for a brief moment in time, your lives converged in the classrooms, laboratories, and studios in the College of Human Ecology. It has been for us a privilege to help you learn. From here, your lives once again diverge as you pursue advanced degrees and careers, and as you follow your passions through as yet unknowable life pursuits. As you start your new lives, I'd like to challenge you to do one thing. Always remember the College of Human Ecology model. In a world focused on things, we focus first on people. People matter. Invest yourself in something bigger than yourself. Invest yourself in the lives of those around you and in your community. As you leave this great university, you take with you the best wishes of the faculty and staff. We wish you satisfaction and success in all your personal and professional endeavors. Once again, congratulations and best wishes from the College of Human Ecology to the class of 2017. At this time, I invite the graduates to stand and join in the singing of the alma mater for the first time as alumni. The words are printed on page 3 of your program, and at the end of the refrain, audience, please be seated for the recessional.